Ми продовжуємо серію наших майстер-класів в проєкті «Школа імпровізації». І сьогодні я дуже радий, що вдалося запросити дуже гарного музиканта, дуже гарну людину. Рафал Сарнецький – це один з провідних польських музикантів, композиторів, гітаристів. Рафал навчався в Америці, він багато дуже гастролює, він багато навчає, він працює, викладає клас гітари в Варшаві в академії і також в академії в Лодзі. Це дуже гарна людина, дуже тепла, дуже скромна, але це справді дуже поважна персона. І я від вас і від себе хочу подякувати Рафалу за те, що приїхав сьогодні до нас. Рафал Сарнецький.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's a really emotional experience for me, and it means a lot for me to be here. I have so many friends from Kyiv, and I heard so much about the school. Actually, I even have some students in Warsaw who used to study here, so I feel a big connection. Also, I have my family members studied in Kyiv, so this is the first time I'm here, so it's really a big deal for me, and it's really emotional. So Igor invited me here for a master class about improvisation, and obviously it's always a little stressful to come to a new place, to a new environment and give a master class, because I don't know most of you. I've never heard you play, and I don't know exactly what your interests are, what are the things that you're great at, and things like this. So it's always a little hard to match your interests. So Igor told me to just talk about things that I normally teach in Warsaw or in Łódź. So I thought maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I thought about discussing some topics that my students have issues with. I would like to talk about some things that I find myself talking a lot about because many of my students have problems with these issues related to improvisation. And so hopefully you find some of these things interesting. If you feel like it's too easy or too complicated, please let me know. Feel free to ask questions. Or yeah, if you need to explain anything, please feel free to stop me. The title of this master class is Freedom of Improvisation. It's a very general topic, and I decided, instead of trying to find like one topic that relates to improvisation, I would like to talk about a few different things, because this way the chances of matching your interests are a little higher. And then if you would like to ask about other things, that's absolutely fine too. So the first topic that I'd like to talk about, that definitely relates to improvisation, is basically being able to hear what you play. So it's basically about the reason why I would like to discuss this topic is that in my experience as an educator, I've seen many students who practice very hard songs. Like, let's say, I've seen students who practice songs like 26-2 or some really atonal Steve Coleman music or something very, very complicated. But when it comes to hearing things, they have problems hearing C major scale. And you might laugh at it, but I've seen it many times, like graduate students, because it's also a problem of jazz programs, jazz schools, because there are some requirements, like my colleges, there are some requirements, like on this semester you need to play this song, this, let's say, Coltrane changes. On this semester you need to work on this topic. And sometimes people, like, their fingers follow all these things, but their ears don't. because it's also like a system problem, because ear training usually are not individual classes, they're group classes. So if you don't hear that well, it's hard for the teacher to really address you personally. So it's kind of easy to get away with not hearing very well in the ear training class. So to me, it's kind of scary when you see someone who's been studying jazz for like 4 years, and they play all the complicated things. They play, altered scales, like diminished scales. They play Coltrane changes, but again, they have problems hearing like a C major scale. So, so this is something that I would like to talk about first. So, basically, don't be one of those people. And the solution is, technically it's kind of simple. So basically, whenever you practice something, practice playing it, but also practice hearing it. Obviously, if you study a new scale, like let's say it's the first time you're practicing a diminished scale, I guess in order to hear it, obviously you first have to play it, because if you don't play it, you'll never hear it. But once you get something under your fingers, try to sing it, and this relates to all kinds of things, bebop language elements, all kinds of scales, all kinds of harmonic concepts. I know that this might be something simple for you. I'm sure your teachers tell you about this, but I just wanted to stress how important it is. So, for example, the simple exercises that I give my students are, let's say, we have a E flat major chord. So, da, da, da. So just the chord tones of the major 7th chord. But let's say singing the approach notes. Like in bebop language, we have plenty of chromatic approach notes, like chromatic note from below, like enclosures, diatonic from above, chromatic from below. Like trying to sing these things. Da, 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 da. Honestly, I definitely see many students having problems singing something as simple as this. How many of you have practiced singing, like let's say, approach notes to chord tones? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, and this is like a very basic element of bebop language. So this was chromatic from below, right? Da, 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 da. And now, so here's the interesting thing, because some people, so what I did right now is I played and I sang at the same time. Da, 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 da. It's much harder to do it if you only play, if you only sing without playing. Da, 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 da. Some people think that they can hear things because they can sing and play at the same time. It's much harder to do it if you only sing it. So if you, there are some people who in general, whenever they improvise, even on stage, they play and sing at the same time. Like if I say, so this is kind of easy to do. If I'm playing and singing at the same time, my voice kind of very quickly matches the notes that I'm playing, but it's much harder to sing it without playing. Right? So if you So basically, if you want to make sure that you really hear the things that you're playing, try to sing it without playing at the same time. It's a very big difference, because many of my students, when they can play, let's say, all kinds of altered scales. They can play and sing. But when it comes to only singing, suddenly they become very diatonic. So let's say, right now I'm thinking about There Will Never Be Another You. I'm sure most of you know that song. So it's very common for my students that when they play, they use all kinds of complicated devices, but when they're supposed to sing a solo, they sing and that's very diatonic. So I think it's best if you could sing exactly on the same level of complication that you can play. So if you use altered scales in your improvisation or diminished scales in your improvisation, but you cannot sing a solo that incorporates those devices, there's something strange about it. And again, it relates to the freedom of improvisation, as the title of this lecture, because to me the freedom is when it's you who decides what to play, not your fingers. If it's your, let's say, your ears and your brain should decide what to play, not your fingers. hearing what you play is, to me, it's very important, because this is exactly what can give you the freedom to express yourselves, not just follow your fingers. So let's go back to more specific examples. So I spoke about the chromatic approach on sorry. Then you can do diatonic from above, chromatic from below. Yes, these are, again, very basic tools of the bebop language. And while I'm doing this, I'm actually imagining the neck of guitar in my mind. Then you could do double chromatic, it depends on the note, but you could do so depending on the chord tone, depending on whether the diatonic note above is a half step away or a whole step away, I would choose a different enclosure. So this was like 2 chromatic above and 1 chromatic below. Here it was diatonic from above, 2 chromatic from below. Here it's chromatic from below. Here's chromatic from below, double chromatic from above. And here's diatonic from above, double chromatic from below. Yes, again, very basic elements of bebop language. Then let's say we're improvising, we're studying how to improvise over the "There Will Never Be Another You." Let's say one thing that you could practice, another thing that you could practice singing is singing just the roots of the chords. And honestly, that's a good way to learn a standard. Like if you're, people think that in order to learn a new song, they have to have their instruments with them. But let's say you're learning a new standard or your friend's song and you want to memorize it and you don't have your instrument with you, just sitting on a bus stop waiting for the bus, you can, let's say, sing the roots. So that's relatively easy. If you know the chords, I feel like many of my students can do it. But then we can do something slightly harder. Let's say sing all the thirds of the chords. So how many of you have tried this kind of exercise? Okay. I'm sorry, are you vocalists? Yes, actually, that's a very common exercise for singers. Yes, I thought about it. Because I have, my friend singers told me about that. In the vocal class, one of the things is like matching specific chord tones. And yes, so if the singers practice it, there's no reason why everyone else shouldn't practice it. It's a very basic thing. Now, another thing that you add to this is add an enclosure to those thirds. So, da, so da da da, ba ba ba, 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 and so on. So that's already a little harder. It requires some. I mean, what helps me here is that I imagine my fingers on the fretboard. I if I don't think about the fretboard, it's a little harder for me to do it. It's still possible, but I'm talking about guitar right now, but it could be piano, imagining the keys on the piano. And you could do it with any other chord tone. You could do it with fifths. You could do it with approach notes to roots, or some more, some weird extensions of altered chords. So yes, I think that this is a very interesting exercise. There are many variations on it. My friend recommended this exercise when you, let's say, sing the roots of the song and play the melody on your instrument. So that's another interesting exercise. Then I mentioned altered scales or diminished scales. So also, if you use altered scales or diminished scales, just practicing some lines based on those scales. And as you can tell, my voice is absolutely horrible, so don't be embarrassed to sing, because I'm sure you won't be able to sing worse than I do. I don't know how to call this, niedomykalność strun głosowych. My vocal cords don't stick together, so supposedly Sting has the same thing, so I guess that's not too bad. But so also I want to say, don't be embarrassed to sing, because it's not about the quality of your singing, it's about hearing things. So so that was a diminished scale. Then now let's try the other scale. So these are some descending lines based on altered or diminished scale that resolve to chord tones of a tonic chord. These are things that I work on with my students on altered scales and diminished scales. But it could be literally anything, any lick or any phrase that incorporates altered scales or diminished scales that you already are able to play. It's good to be able to sing it, because altered scale, let's say altered scale on a major 2-5-1, it's a hard thing to sing, because it's basically most of the notes are wrong. They're outside of the scale, right? So it really requires some skills to sing it. In the minor key, it's a little different. It's easier, but like so suddenly to switch from like notes of the major scale, the E flat major scale. So suddenly we have so many notes from outside of the E flat major scale. It's at first it's really hard to do, and but once you work on it, again, this is something you could practice going for a walk, or even in the bus. I have these noise cancelling headphones, so that they kind of help with singing in the bus, because this way, like, you can sing so softly that you can hear yourself, but other people can't hear you, so it's not as embarrassing. So I try to do that. There's some other things, like many of my students ask me, how do you play outside of the harmony? How do you play like wrong notes? And obviously some teachers are annoyed by this question, but it's natural that people in school want to play some dissonant notes because it feels hip, it's fun, it's exciting. And one of the things I say is like, well, if you want to play outside of the harmony, why don't you learn how to hear outside of the harmony? So let's say, so that's the 7th of the key. And now maybe let me pick different. I started from the 7th. So this is a B flat major chord, and I was singing the note of the A major pentatonic. So this is also a little confusing at first, and I've had some students who, in general, hear pretty well, but it was very hard for them to sing this. And you know, like how in jazz improvisation, especially modern jazz improvisation, sometimes you do this thing that you play in a key that's half step away from the actual key, so it becomes like a polytonal thing. So if you want to play half step away from the chord that's happening right now, why don't you learn how to hear half step away from the key? So like da 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 da. So that's A da 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 da. So that's A major scale clashing with the B flat major chord, and you could do the same with a tritone. Da 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 da. So that's E major. Da 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 da. It kind of sounds pretty in a way, although it's all wrong notes. So I was basically singing the notes of an E major scale while I'm playing a B flat major chord. So some extensions work actually pretty well, but some notes are definitely clashing. So again, if you want to play dissonant notes, it's good to be able to hear dissonant notes. And it might be hard at first, but once you get used to it, it's not even that hard. So the second thing that I find myself discussing quite a lot with my students is, and because I feel like many of my students have problems with this, is basically playing above the bar line. When I teach ensembles or individual guitar lessons, I think a lot of my students, many of my students play in a way as if they needed to show themselves where one is. Because when we think about like bar line is where beat one is basically, and I feel like one of the issues with improvisation that my students have is that they often play in a way as if they really needed to show themselves where one is, because otherwise they're gonna get lost or something. So basically it feels like they're lacking rhythmic freedom, and they need to show themselves where beat one is. And there is something awkward about it, because jazz is rooted in African music. It's a jazz style that was created in the United States as a combination of the African rhythmic tradition and elements of European harmony. And in African music, many people say, I'm not an expert in African music, but many people say that in African music there was no such thing as a bar line. There was no beat one. Basically, there were many layers of rhythm that worked well together, that grooved well together, but it wasn't specified where it all begins. It was like just a flow of rhythm. So that quality of jazz music is still present until these days. Obviously in jazz we have beat one, but still there's a tradition of this rhythmic freedom, of not emphasizing constantly where beat one is. And so I think it's very important for, in the process of studying jazz music or any kind of music that's based on groove, to be able to play in a way that is not emphasizing beat one all the time. It's okay to emphasize beat one when you need it to, but it's good to be able to have the freedom of emphasizing other beats. It's good to be able to play without having to show yourself where beat one is all the time. So the obvious question is like, how do you emphasize beat one? What are the elements of your playing that emphasize beat one? So a very common way to emphasize beat one is playing a longer note on beat one, or like playing a note on beat one and having a rest after it. Also, the anticipation of beat one also, to me, emphasize beat one. So let me give you a bad example. Like, this is how some of my students play. This is a little extreme, but like. So this was a bad example. So basically, I was using different rhythms, I was using different harmonic devices, but I kept on showing beat one all the time. And this is literally how many people play, especially in odd time signatures. I know that for some of you this might be a little too obvious, but especially when people play in odd time signatures, this is very common. So let me play something in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In odd time signatures, usually we feel a little less comfortable than in 4/4 or 3/4. So there's even more tendency to help yourself by showing beat one. And so obviously, so if you ask yourself a question like, so what can you do to avoid this? The answer is pretty simple. Like, if you play 8-note lines, maybe try to carry the 8-note line a little longer and stop in the middle of the measure. So let's say if I play the same. So basically I was trying to not to stop where beat one is, just continue the line a little longer. But the exercises that I give to my students are a little bit more specific than this. An interesting exercise is to try to end the phrase on a specific beat in the measure. So let's say if we have a measure of 7/4, we have 14 different 8th notes in the measure, and we can try ending the phrase on each of those 14 8th notes, and each of them has a slightly different feeling to it. So so you can try, let's say, specifying, I'm gonna try to end every phrase on beat 2. So it's a little bit, at first it's a little bit of mathematics, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. was beat 2. Let's try the end of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, sorry. Yes, it's a little confusing. Even I made a couple of mistakes in the beginning, but so that was the end of 2. It's a little harder if you go farther in the measure. So let's pick beat 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, also in odd time signatures, actually anticipating one also sounds kind of interesting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, obviously ending it constantly in the same place in the measure also sounds awkward and mechanical, but as an exercise I think it's a good thing to do. So this is these are some of the exercises that you could do in order to force yourself to end your phrases in different parts of the measure. You can do the same with starting your phrases in different parts of the measures. Actually, it's easier to start in a specific place in the measure than to end the phrase in a specific place in the measure. So, so that's why I showed you the exercises about ending the phrases, but you can do the same with starting. And it's also good to find your own tendencies. Let's say some of us, when they improvise in a specific time signature, have a tendency to finish the phrases on the upbeat more often than on the downbeat, or on the downbeat more often than on the upbeat. Or let's say some of us might never end a phrase on the end of 3, or never end a phrase on the end of 7 and 7, 4. So so these exercises are good for you to try all the possible options. In this case, there are 14 options, so that's quite a lot. But once you go through all of them, I think it can give you some more rhythmic freedom. Then, so placing a long note on beat 1 or the anticipation of beat 1 is not the only way to emphasize beat 1. There are also some other ways. Let's say if you play, if you switch between triplets and 8 notes, and you switch on beat 1, this will also emphasize beat 1. And if you switch somewhere in the middle of the measure, it feels a little bit more it puts some emphasis away from beat one. So again, it's not like it's a bad thing to switch from eighth notes to eighth note triplets and beat one, but it's a nice idea to practice making that switch somewhere in the beginning of the measure. So let's say we have a 2-5-1 cadence. Let's say D minor, G7, C major. Let's say if I do so let me play the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I started with eighth notes. I made a switch to triplets right on the beat one of the second measure and switched back to eighth notes on beat one of the next measure. I'm gonna try to switch to eighth note triplets in a different place and switch back to eighth notes also in a different place. So if I do like so now I switch from eighth notes to eighth note triplets in the beginning of the in the middle of the first measure. Then the whole second measure I played the triplets, and then in the middle of the third measure I switched back to eighth notes. Maybe let me try to do it with the metronome because this will show the beat a little better. 3, 4. So that was switching on beat one. Now I'm gonna try to displace it. 3, 4. So again, if you analyze solos of great masters, Herbie Hancock, you see this type of devices quite often. If you have a new motivic idea, new rhythmic value, like again switching from quadruplets to triplets, quadruplets to eighth notes, and these changes don't have to be on beat one. They can be in the middle of the measure and gives a feeling of rhythmic freedom. Another thing that relates to playing over the bar line that's worth experimenting is also the harmonic rhythm. So I used to have a couple lessons with a great drummer, Ari Honig, when I lived in New York. And one time he said a very interesting thing, that if you receive a chart and you have chord symbols on the chart, and it says, let's say, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, and these chords are written above certain measures, just think about it in such a way that these chords can start and end anywhere you want. So on the chart it says here, 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 but if you improvise, if you listen to the musicians, you can kind of twist it a little bit. You can start the G7 earlier, you can start the G7 later, you can play the G7 much longer. Also, I remember I looked, one of my students did a transcription of Mike Stern solo on rhythm changes. And it was really interesting how the harmonic rhythm was all twisted. So, in the first 4 measures of rhythm changes, you have 1, 6 to 5. And so Mike played those chords, but the places where he emphasized the dominant chord, the F7 or G7, was totally not in the right places according to the chart. He was just, so basically, the rhythm change starts with a, let's say, B flat major, and he already played F7 on it. So like the last chord that was supposed to happen 2 measures after this. And this is an important element of jazz tradition. It's not a mistake, it's actually a cool thing to twist that harmonic rhythm. And also this gives you a lot of feeling of freedom. So if you can outline the changes very well, if you are have a very good foundation of bebop language, you can play over the changes, but you don't have to follow exactly, okay, I have only half a measure to play B flat major 7, only half a measure to play G7, only half a measure C minor 7. No, you can, as long as you show the resolution from F7 to B flat major or from G7 to C minor, you can kind of do it wherever you want. Obviously, it depends a little bit on who's comping. So if you have a piano player playing bam, 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 it's a little harder to do. Still possible, but a little harder. So let me give you a simple example of this. So let me play a simple phrase on 251. So let me put a 1, 2, 3, 4. So I started on D minor 7, made a resolution to the third of the G7 chord on beat 1 of the second measure. So 1, 1. So there's nothing wrong with this phrase. It's a very simple, obvious phrase. But now I will change the resolution. I mean, I will shift the resolution to the thirds of those chords to beat 2, from beat 1 to beat 2. So maybe I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So in this case, basically on beat 1, I didn't play the third of the chord. I started the double chromatic approach notes that will land on the third on beat 2. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2. So it's not like this phrase is better, but but I think first of all, resolving to beat 2 is also acceptable, and you can see this kind of melodic device in many solos of many great artists, and it has a different feeling. It just has a different rhythmic feeling to it, because that moment where we reach the chord tone of the next chord happens on beat 2, not on beat 1, and in a way puts more emphasis on beat 2. And that harmonic rhythm also gives us, it affects how rhythm section reacts to it, and so on. So okay, so let's go even a little farther. So now I'm going to prolong that G7 even longer. So I'm going to keep playing on G7 even a little longer. So 2, 3, 4. So I started on D minor 7, then I started playing on G7, and I continued the G7 by playing a diminished, like a whole, diminished half whole, G diminished half whole scale, until I reached the 5th of the C major chord on beat 3. So basically, I delayed the resolution to C major by 3 quarter notes. So again. Right? So again, it kind of depends on who's comping, and the question is, like, does it really work if someone's playing like a really obvious C major 7 while I'm playing a G half, whole, diminished scale. But I would say if the comping instruments are careful, it should work. And especially if you're playing without the comping instrument. If you're a piano player, you can do whatever you want, obviously, because you can play G7 longer in your left hand, so that's no problem. If you're a horn player and there's no piano player, again, you can do whatever you want, because obviously you have, the bass player might play the note C, might resolve to C earlier, but it's in the jazz tradition, it's a very natural thing that there is a C in the bass and someone's playing a G7 on top of this. This is happening all the time. It's an element of jazz tradition. So again, displacing harmonic rhythm is also a very interesting tool to give this feeling of freedom and improvisation. And it's actually, in a way, easier to improvise if you don't force yourself to constantly resolve to beat one. If you have the freedom to shift it a little bit by delaying it or anticipating the resolution, it's just easier.